At some point, I'd like to talk about swimming at some point.
I got a follow-up call from JB.
All right.
Kind of wants me to explain it to you and not to talk to Amy right now because she won't listen to me.
Well, it's wrong, though. I don't care what he says.
What I would recommend you is call Mark explains it to the best of his ability. What's going on? I don't know what the hell is going on.
I didn't get a text message or email, or I wasn't offered.
It was something that happened in the fall.
We all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. We'll get the meeting started. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You good? You good?
Yeah.
All right. Okay, we're going to get the meeting started. If we will have the meeting approval, the minutes for Tuesday, the February the 15th. If there is no discussion, it'll be unanimous consent. Okay, they're approved. Okay, we have presentations. We have none at this time. No, it's not true. Who do we have?
It's all right.
That's all right.
Leave it for me. I got this.
Okay. Well, geez, come on. Christine.
Wow.
Okay, we'll leave it for Mr. Stage then.
Thank you.
You're up, Mr. Stage.
Good evening, everybody, and thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to welcome Mrs. Rhodes, Lynch-Buston Elementary School principal, up, and she's going to introduce Mrs. Greer and some students.
All right, so tonight I have Erica Greer here with us, one of our fifth grade teachers at Lynch-Buston, and she brought some friends with her. We have Madison Principal, Riley Warden, Avery Jackson, and Isaiah Bailey. So if you guys would join Mrs. Greer, and they have a presentation. They've been working on a project based off a novel that they read in ELA class. It turned into a school-wide event where we've been doing some fundraisers. We had a couple of pajama days to raise money, casual days with our faculty and staff. We did a coin war. So I don't want to steal their show, but I'm going to let them tell the story because they'll do it a lot better. So they put a lot of work into them.
Mrs. Greer, the microphone is over here. So everyone at home can hear you too.
Perfect.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Recently at Lynch in our fifth grade ELA classes, we read the novel A Long Walk to Water by Linda Sue Park. It is based on a true story with a powerful theme of perseverance. The main character is Salva Dutt, and he must overcome numerous hardships throughout the book. In the end, he pays it forward to others in need. As part of our project for the book, we completed a series of fundraisers to raise money for the organization called Water for South Sudan. The organization was founded by Salva himself and provides people in South Sudan with clean water instead of the dirty, unclean water that so many have now. Dirty water spreads diseases and can even lead to death. Many people in Sudan have to walk several hours to get water for their families every single day. And with the help of Salva, his team, and our fundraising efforts, wells are being built in the villages of South Sudan so people can have easier access to clean water.
For, for our project for this novel, we had a series of Wildcat Water Wednesdays with teacher dress down days to help kickstart our fundraising efforts. We also complete different fundraisers each week to raise money. Students sold tickets, and we had a 50-50 raffle with the teachers. We had a school-wide pajama day in which the students paid $2 to wear their PJs, to school. Lastly, we wrapped up our fundraising with a school-wide change collection competition, raising over $1,000 in just change.
For our closing ceremony at the conclusion of this project, we had some major excitement. A student from the winning class in each grade level got to pie our Lynch Buston principal in the face. That's right, Mrs. Rhodes took 6 pies in the face. In addition, the winning 5th grade class voted and chose to pie 5th grade teacher Mrs. Webster in the face. You could hear the energy and excitement in the crowd. Mrs. Rhodes and Mrs. Webster were both good sports, and it was so much fun for the students to all come together in the gym for the first time this school year for an assembly. We set a fundraising goal to $1,500, and we are super proud to announce that we've made a total of $2,302. In addition, as part of our fundraising, we now are entered into a Iron Giraffe challenge. We have a chance to win a meet and greet or video live with Selva. We will watch a live Zoom in our classrooms on April 8th to see if we have won. We appreciate everyone's support in this entire process, and we are so excited to be a part of building a new well for those in need.
You. I was going to ask you for to give these guys a round of applause. We practiced in my room today, and they were really nervous, but I think they did awesome. Yes. So I'm a visual learner, and I'm not going to take up much of your time, but I just thought it would be awesome to share some pictures with you. So on the backboard, I have some things from our. There we go. So the left side is the book title, the book cover, if you're ever looking for something to read. It's a wonderful, wonderful novel. I have kids that are laughing in certain parts, crying in other parts. The fact that it's based off of a true story just makes it all that much more real. And it's one of those books that hits you. So I encourage you to read that if you're interested. On the right, that's a picture of some of the women who had to, prior to getting wells in their villages built, they had to walk in the book. Do you remember how long she walked? 8 hours to a pond to get water and then back every single day. And because of these wells being built in villages, now they don't have to do that. I have a trivia question for the board. Do you have any idea why it's called the Iron Giraffe Challenge? Anybody? No? Okay, so it's called the Iron Giraffe Challenge that we're entered in because they call the rig that they use to build the wells an iron giraffe because it has such a long neck that goes down into the ground. So we're entered into that challenge, and like she said, Avery said, I'm hoping this is the year. We've done this for 5 years, I think now, and we have the possibility to meet the person, Selva, who is the main character in the book. Couple more, there's Selva. Selva, I had the privilege of listening to him speak when I went to Mansfield University, and I think it would be amazing for these kids to hear him speak. So cross your fingers that this is the year. On the left, there are some of his workers building after they're actually putting the finishing touches on one of the wells. And on the right, that picture just gets me when I look at it. There's this child, and we actually talked about the fact that we have such, it's so easy for us to go to our classroom sink and just turn the water on. But for these kids to have these wells that are built now, for him to be able to go there and just fill it without having to send these kids on these long missions to the ponds, it's just awesome to think that this stuff is happening. This is a quick map on the Water for South Sudan website, wfss.org. If you look at the top, there's all the years. They have built over 500 wells at this point, and you can see all the little blue flags are the ones on the current, the 2020 to 21. Then they're going to be updating that. So interesting stuff. Here's some of my students that were counting change. I actually shut down my class for a morning and I said, we're not going to do our regular lesson. We're going to count change. And surprisingly, I was very happy when I actually took it to the coin machine. They were really, really close. So they had a great time. Didn't you have a great time? No, they're shaking their heads. No. It was a great lesson, life lesson, counting money. They were sorting them into piles, and then I'd go around and check them. So here's the fun at the end. Mrs. Webster is on the left, and she came in all her gear prepared. Mrs. Rhodes, I don't remember which number pie this was, but if you happen to find it online, there's a really great video. I wasn't going to show it and embarrass her, but if you happen to find it, it's circulating. She has one, I think it's the final pie, and she just throws the pie tin in the air like, okay, I'm done. We're done. But she was a great sport, and we appreciate that. And then the last slide, we have our water well that used to be in the main lobby. We used to fill that up when we reached each increment, and our goal was only 1,500, and we made over 2,000 this year. So very, very happy. Thank you all. We're good. You can go.
Thank you, guys. Very good job. Thank
Very
you.
nice job. Got a couple more things.
What's up?
I have a couple things.
Okay.
Not that anything I say compares to what these amazing students did. Thank you, Mrs. Greer, and thank you to her class and all of fifth grade for putting a great effort in Lynch Buston. It's awesome, and it's nice to see that we've done this year after year. And they always set a goal, and they always just crush it. So I think they need to start raising the bar a little bit, make it harder. Yeah, amazing. I only have one thing I'd like to report on tonight. A lot of things are going on, but winter sports kind of wrapped up, and I would like to I'd like to commend all of our students and our student athletes. We've been going through a lot of great stage of success through our Science Olympiad, Scholarship Challenge, swimming, basketball, wrestling. We've all been very lucky to have great student athletes to be super successful at all these events. We have a state wrestling champion. Mr. Sullivan is going to invite all of these teams in April to our April meeting, and we'll do a little bit more formal recognition of them because truly are amazing student athletes. They make us all very proud to be Wildcats. One thing I do want to note is the incredible effort by all the advisors and coaches to make these kids so successful. It's an incredible sacrifice in time and effort. It's a year-round process for a lot of them, and we really don't recognize how much they put forth to allow our students and our student athletes to shine, to give their best every day on the court, in the classroom, and all the competitions. And I've had the week where I've been at basketball games and wrestling matches and at the Science Olympiad in Penn State Wilkes, and the amount of work and effort and love that they give to our students is truly remarkable. And I want to just thank them all for their efforts. So thank you. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Sage. Yes, they had a great winter season. I think I can hear me. They had a great winter season. Up next on the agenda, I don't think we have a report for Blast IU, correct? There's no report. I think that's Mrs. Braun. Is that correct? She hasn't taken it yet? Okay. Northern Tier Career Center, Mr. Owen.
Yeah, I do have a brief update. Just before I do that, though, Mr. Stage, just back to your item, are you able to provide a brief update on where we are with the latest COVID data?
Want to turn my microphone on? Yes. I'm going to be completely honest with everybody. We've had very little, if any, COVID in the last 3 weeks. Maybe a total of 10 cases total in the last 3 weeks. Only about maybe 6 or 7 quarantines as a result. I think currently we only have one. And maybe 2 quarantines. I think that's it for this entire week. So it's been very minimal. Although if you look at the county numbers have also dropped off the radar to very low numbers as well. So we're actually doing really well. It's not the primary focus of our day for a lot of us, and so life feels a little normal.
Thank you. Thanks. Glad to
You're
hear that. So just for a brief update from the Career Center, 3 main items I'll share today. First, there was a Skills USA competition that took place back on February 10th and 11th. That's where students from the Career Center went to Penn College in Williamsport to demonstrate the skills that they learn. 39 students participated, 5 of which were from Athens. Out of those 39 participants, 9 are going to states, which will be held in Hershey in early April. Of those 9, 1 is from Athens, and that's Troy Jennings, who was part of the building construction 4-man team. So congrats to Troy. Yeah, yep. Yeah, good history there, right, by the sounds of it, right? So we'll give an update after that next month to let everybody know how Troy does. Next topic, I mentioned last time, the Career Center is introducing 2 new programs for next school year, that being diversified occupations and early childhood development. Currently, they're in the process of hiring instructors for both of those programs. We have our next meeting this coming Thursday, and we're expecting to approve the instructor for the early childhood position. And then in the future, we'll be hiring the diversified occupations instructor. Lastly, on that topic, for anyone who's interested, if you'd like to learn more about that diversified occupations program, there is a video on YouTube. If you go to the Career Center YouTube channel, which is NTCC, look for the diversified occupations video, and it'll give information about that new program. Think of it as being like a glorified internship or co-op program. Lastly, the Career Center held their demonstration night a few weeks ago on March 3rd. That was where it was open to the public for anyone from the community to come in and learn from the students, to showcase the skills that they're learning in the different courses. I attended. It was an awesome turnout. I had to park way in the back when I got there, and there was just a lot of people there. So it was great to see. Great to see just the enthusiasm and the love for the trades that these students are learning. So that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Owen. Mr. Jones, PSBA.
I have nothing to report.
Mr. Rude, extracurricular activities.
Okay. We did meet this past month. We received 2 bids for the strength and conditioning. We recommended 1 bid, which will be on the agenda later. The league approved our junior high to have 2 soccer teams this year. And they also approved our junior high to have 2 baseball teams. The numbers are on both those teams are, I think, close to 40. So this will give our kids a lot more playing time. In the fall, the league has approved us to have 2 golf teams, 1 boys and 1 girls. So it'll give the girls a chance to compete in the matches, because currently only 5 members can compete. So this will give the girls a chance to compete against the boys and possibly qualify to go on in districts. And with this, with the girls wrestling and the girls golf, if the numbers warrant it, we might have to look into an assistant coach or possibly another head coach for those programs in the future. The 3 board members that are on the athletic committee and met with the 3 board members of the SARE Athletic Committee. We wanted to meet with them to be proactive and ask them to come to us with what sports they want to co-op by May of this year, so we can budget and plan for that. And lastly, we discussed the chain of command when it comes to parental complaints. In regards to playing time, the students should go to the head coach first. The student then should meet with the entire coaching staff. If the parents aren't happy with what the student is saying, then the parents can meet with the coaching staff. It's been a practice along that we do not want the AD or the principal to have to deal with parental complaints about playing time. We trust the coaches, and the coaches will handle that. And that concludes my report. Yeah. Yeah, when the coaches meet with, in fact, we just went through it with baseball. The coaches are pretty explicit of what the chain of command should be, that the players should meet with the coaches first. And that concludes the report.
Okay, thank you. Okay, up next, we have Mr. Barrett, Solicitor's Report.
We have several items of litigation which are moving forward, which I have informed the board about an executive session, which is proper. One thing I wish to share with you, though, the solicitor's workshop, which has been done virtually the last 2 years because of the pandemic, is being held in person this year, and I'll be attending Tuesday afternoon. It'll be nice to get around and see all the other solicitors, and I think it's a much better feedback, just like it is to have education in person, and that's what it is. Thank you for providing that opportunity to me. That concludes my report.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we are up to visitor comments. This is for board action items only. Please give your name, address, organization which you represent, and subject matter. It's requested that comments be kept to 3 minutes. Comments relative to private student or employee matters should be directed to the superintendent outside of the meeting. When there's 1 minute left, I'll put my finger up for 1 minute left so you know that how much time is remaining. Are there any visitor comments on board action items only? Yes, ma'am. Yes. Yep. It's nice to see you back, Deb.
Is this still on? Okay. Deb Buck, Roosevelt Street, Athens. I have a question about number 9. Oh, 9. So the strength training, what is that?
Somebody from the athletic committee like to?
Yep.
talk about- Go ahead.
That'll be a strength and conditioning coach that will come to the school and work with any student that wants to come before school and after school, and how to properly lift, properly not only lifting, but speed training, and he or she will also be sports specific and work with the coaches also.
That's not something that our gym teacher can do?
This happens after the school day.
Yeah.
Or before school.
So I shouldn't re-ask that question? I mean, we have 4 gym teachers throughout the district that have master level educations, and we're going to pay, although I would love to see my nephew get the bid because it's his company, but why are we, as a taxpayer, why are we going to pay $2,000 a month to pay someone to strength trains our kids that they should get it in school, or our teachers should be doing?
We've been trying to fill this position for 2 years. We did go to the teachers first and ask them to step up, and if they wanted to create the program or work with the kids. Then what the pandemic hit, and then it would then go forward. We have a beautiful gym that money was donated to build and to create this gym that's just sitting there. This is a way to get the kids in and get them strength and conditioning and
I
get
agree
them
with the
ready for their
concept.
sport.
We're going to pay $2,000 a month out of our tax dollars when we're short on supplies in the classroom.
What supplies are we short on in the
Yeah.
classroom?
Well, we have this copy shortage.
It's not.
Books.
That's
It's not a
nationwide.
I
money
understand
shortage
that.
For us, it's getting the toner.
Right, I get that.
But it's not a resource. Like, we're not short on resources. It's just, we simply can't get.
We're
toner.
short on books, reading materials.
This is the first.
There's
I'm hearing
more
that.
aids that could be brought into the classroom to help kids that are at a lower level. There's more we could be doing on the educational level. And if you want me to come up with a list, I'd be more than happy to do that. Being in the classroom in different levels every day, I see it.
Mhm.
I just don't think we should be spending $2,000 on strength training when it can be done in our gym classes.
So
We
there
have
are some
4
students
master
that
level gym
look
teachers.
forward to sports, and that's the reason they're in school, is for sports. And if this helps keep them in school and healthy and in condition to participate, then I take that as part of an educational expense.
But why can't they do that in gym class? Exactly.
Okay, our time is up, unfortunately. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Mrs. Buck.
Mrs. Buck, I'll come see you because I'd
Yep.
love to know what we're missing. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Buck. Any other visitor comments on board action items? Okay. Okay, so next we'll move in through the financials. Do I have a motion and a second to bring about the financials?
Make the motion.
I'll second.
Okay, these are our normal listing of the bills, general funds, cafeteria, school activity accounts. Is there any discussion for this? When you are ready, Christine.
Mr. Frisbee? Yes. Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mrs. Minnick?
Yes.
Mr. Owen?
Yes.
Mr. Rude?
Yes.
Mrs. Smart?
Yes.
Mr. Charles-Nowski?
Yes.
And Mrs. Cooper?
Yes.
Okay. Up next is personnel. Do I have a motion and a second to bring this to the table?
I make a motion.
Second.
This is our personnel. We have some retirements, some resignations, and some athletic contracts and resignations as well. And we also have, I believe, Ms. Shores requesting permission to add a personal care aide for SRU.
That's correct.
Any discussion on any of those items? Okay, Christine?
Mr. Jones? Yes. Mrs. Minnick?
Yes.
Mr. Owen?
Yes.
Mr. Rude? Mrs. Smart?
Yes.
Mr. Charles-Nowski?
Yes.
Mrs. Cooper?
Yes.
And Mr. Frisbee?
Yes.
Okay, up next, we have contracts and agreements. Do I have a motion and a second to bring this to the table?
Motion.
Okay,
I'll
this-
second.
Thank you. This is the strength and conditioning trainer recommendation by the athletic committee and our E-rate agreement that Mr. Nichols brought to us for the winning bid. Is there any discussion on any of these items?
I had a brief question on each one. For starting with the first one, the strength and conditioning, what's the duration of the contract?
I believe that is 1 year.
Yeah, it's 1 year.
1 year only. Yep.
Okay.
The reason we did it 1 year was also because it's new, see if it's going to work.
What are the hours that the strength and conditioning coach is going to?
Do you have it there, Kevin?
Yes. It was 2 hours on site, 5 days a week.
And that's through the summer as well.
Yes.
it will be available to all students, not just those actively participating in a team. So if someone wants to come along, they'll be allowed to.
Yeah,
Correct.
it's available to all high school students.
What's the plan to communicate it so we are getting the best leverage to make sure that people are aware and that they're, going to be showing up to use it?
We'll be working with JB. I think it's going to be putting it out there as well once we get the coaches, once it's done and
Yeah,
voted on.
Yeah, once we approve it, we'll be using, Mr. Mosier and Mr. Sullivan to communicate it to all the students. And then also encourage all the coaches to have their kids do it.
It is not just for students in an organized sport, correct?
Correct.
Is there a limit of the number of students that can participate? So for instance, if 20 turn up, are only 15 allowed to do it? Or is it, however many, they're all welcome?
No, they did not put a limit on the number of students that will coach.
And there won't be preferential treatment. So for instance, say it's basketball season, the basketball players get to have more of the training time versus other students that maybe are not in an organized sport. Like I don't really understand how the setup will work. So I just want to make sure everyone has access and it's not that certain students will get more access.
No, everyone will have access to the trainer before and after school. And the trainer also said that they will work with each coach if the coaches want them in sport specific. So that's where they'll get, the sports might get additional training because of that. But the before and after school will be, any student can attend that.
Cost for that additional training that
No.
might happen? Or is
No,
that all part of the package?
that's all part of the package.
So in looking at this, it doesn't appear that it does state I know you're saying it's a year. It just says a certain amount per month. And then they reserve the right to renegotiate. I mean, do we have the right to cancel this? There's no real terms on it. I mean, what if we're not satisfied after 30 days, 60 days? Do we have the right to terminate this contract at any time?
Well, we have not signed an official contract.
This is his proposal.
Yeah, this was his proposal that we, in answer to our RFP, we can certainly work those provisions into the contract. And when we put out our RFP, we asked for that it would be a year commitment.
Where did the initial demand come from? Was it like a survey or I'm just,
Well,
I know
the
I'm new
initial
on
one-
the board.
Yeah, the initial one happened like 3 years ago.
Okay.
It was approved by the board like 3 years ago, and then the pandemic hit, and we put it on the shelf. But now that we're coming out of the pandemic, we brought it up again and would like.
And was it brought up, was it students? I just wondered where we even got the idea.
This is a little bit of a history lesson. It was a long time ago. The whole idea of the strength and conditioning trainer was to help our student athletes be more successful, and also introduce any students into lifetime fitness. At times that didn't happen during the school day. So we were donated a significant amount of money to upgrade our weight training facility. And with that, we thought it was necessary, that the extracurricular athletic committee at the time thought it was necessary in talking with coaches, and I think some student athletes at the time, to bring in somebody who could help teach them how to use the equipment properly, develop the appropriate training plans for them to be successful. Some of them wanted to be trained specifically in a certain sport, or some of them wanted to be trained in overall weight training to get stronger, develop more stamina, or become faster. And also one of the key benefits was discussed years ago, was also the fact that at the time we had a lot of high-level athletes getting injured, and having a strength and conditioning coach, one of the key benefits is injury prevention. So it happened, to be honest with you, Cindy, I think this was like almost 4 years ago. This is how long this project.
Maybe
has-
longer.
Maybe long, it's really been that long. So it's been one of those conversations. In fact, I think we were still, the admin office was actually in the space of where the weight training facility is now, and it was originally upstairs in the high school. So it was prior to us moving out of the building. So just to give you some background as to where this all started. Yeah.
Would the training take place, so I guess after or before school hours? Is that the idea? So Craig, I mean, to Mrs. Buck's point, I mean, with having teachers or the gym teachers do it, but I mean, they would be having a contract as well. I mean, it would be
Yeah.
outside of, they would have to, there would be a monetary, they'd have to be paid for that, right? I mean,
Yeah.
That'd be part of that as well.
Yeah, yes, Mr. Jones, and right now, the current contractual rate for teachers is $23 an hour.
Okay.
And I think if you do the math on this, I think it's $25 an hour for the strength and conditioning trainer. And I'm not the epitome of fitness and weight training, but having someone who probably could guide me might helpful. I think that's what part of the conversation was back then. We did talk to some coaches and phys ed teachers about taking on the program. And there was some interest at the time, and I think that interest has since went away.
And if I recall, I think they started to do it on their own. They started giving up their time. They realized how much time it was, and it was spotty usage on their part because there was no commitment to it. Correct.
And the trainer is for $25 an hour, unlimited kids, right? Like it's not per student, it's,
No.
okay.
Well, they do
the
state
last
that they have,
sentence.
it does state in there, they reserve the right to renegotiate, should participation be deemed by the school or Journey Fitness to require more than one strength, so strength or conditioning, so.
And they will be required to get all their clearances to be around the kids, and they are certified trainers that will help. I mean, I hear what Mrs. Buck is saying, but I think the board has shown that we're willing to put money towards the education and additional teachers and additional aides. And this is just another part of helping the kids, not only mentally, but physically.
I had a question. On the second one, if we could go to that on the CX Tech bid. I see the proposal is for equipment only, not installation. Is that going to be a second bid, or are we installing with Mr. Nichols' staff?
Mr. Nichols?
All right, thank you.
So for those that couldn't hear it, because it's a combination of himself and the IU-17,
Yeah.
because he wasn't on the mic.
So in other words, no additional cost for installation.
There may be some for some contracted services
Depending
with
who
the
the IU.
IU, but we do contract a block of
Yeah,
time
right,
with
sort
them
of,
already. Yeah.
So that's already budgeted in.
Part, yeah, mostly.
Sorry, just to go back on the previous point, on the previous, the strength and conditioning. I'm actually very supportive of this because it is open to all, and I think that's really important, but I would like to sort of get an update if we do vote for this and we move ahead with the sort of contract on usage and sort of hear from the board, not only the numbers of kids that are participating, but are we getting kids, across programs, or is it only, one group of kids that are using, like, just because I'd love to know how we are communicating this to the kids and really making sure that it is open to all, and that people are being able to take it up and feel that they're welcome to do that. So if we could have an update, if we do pass this tonight, on how the program's going, and, maybe after a month, after 3 months, just to sort of hear regularly so that we know that this is a good use of funds as well.
I do have one question for the board, along with Natalie's request. If this is passed this evening, I'm just looking at a timeline for implementation and start. Is it after the vote, or are we looking for a July 1 start or something like that?
the committee talked about having it start right away.
Okay.
So that way they could be utilized all summer long and with the spring sports.
Thank you for that. That'll help us in getting some planning and maybe getting some tracking of participation.
So
Thank you.
Corey and Craig, you guys can talk to JB about that. See something here? Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
We certainly can do that. That's a great idea too. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments from the board? Okay. Christine, go ahead.
Mrs. Minnick,
Yes.
Mr. Owen,
Yes.
Mr. Rude,
Yes.
Mrs. Smart,
Yes.
Mr. Charles-Nowski,
Yes.
Mrs. Cooper,
Yes.
Mr. Frisbee,
Yes.
and Mr. Jones.
Yes.
Okay. Up next are policies. Do I have a motion and a second to bring these up?
So moved.
I said,
Thank you.
I don't know who this is.
I think it was Cindy or Kathy Jo.
All right, well,
Okay, so these are first reads for policies on purchasing subjects to bid quotes, purchases budgeted, and procurement. Are there any questions on these?
Mr. Chair's-Nowski, I just want to reiterate that these are first reads. These won't be actually updated policies until after the second read.
Okay.
And the changes are highlighted in bold, and they are updated to meet the federal uniform grant guidelines and purchasing guidelines that are out.
Mr. Stage, the
Yes, ma'am.
Personnel and Policy Committee did look at these this evening as well.
Okay.
And given that these are all set at a state level and they're related, they are related to procurement, the amounts have slightly increased, but really, from what we can see, the changes are not.
They don't need a second.
Yeah, we don't feel that they need a
That's-
second read, and
yeah.
so we'd recommend that we just, if the rest of the board agrees, put these on to a
We have to-
vote and approve tonight.
We have to vote on that to change the agenda though? It says first read under the agenda.
Look at Mr. Barrett.
Do we have to vote on that to change it then? Because it's under the agenda, first read? Mr. Barrett? They would like to make it, just vote on it right now and for the first and second read right now. Right now on the agenda, it says first read. Do we have to, if they want to pass it?
You have a policy that says that we announce these twice. We do a first reading and a second reading. But we have a policy on everything, so we have a policy to suspend our policies if you wish to. So if you want to make a motion to suspend the policy so we don't
Why don't we
have to
just
have a
vote on the
second
next
reading,
meeting?
you're willing to do
We
that.
want to wait till April?
Never mind, if it,
Okay.
I mean, honestly, this is not a deal breaker for us
All
at
right.
all. We just were trying to
Thank you.
make it easier.
Well, what I'm
Thank
telling
you.
you, you have to vote twice.
Yeah.
But you can do it right now if you want to. Now,
Just stick with it? Okay. All right,
Next
any,
time I won't.
any discussion?
Me neither.
Every meeting is interesting. All right, if there's no discussion, go ahead, Christine.
Mr. Owen,
Yes.
I can't.
Mr. Rude,
Yes.
Mrs. Smart,
Yes.
Mr. Charles-Nowski,
Yes.
Mrs. Cooper,
yes.
Mr. Frisbee,
Yes.
Mr. Jones,
Yes.
and Mrs. Minnick.
Yes.
Up next, we have curriculum instruction. Do I have a motion and a second to bring this to the table?
Second.
Is there any discussion on this?
Yeah, just as a review, I believe Mr. Toscano discussed this in February's committee session. He now has a completed course description. This course is a part of the computer information science pathway and will be part of the course pathway for people who are exploring a career path in computer sciences. Oh, thank you. A prerequisite for AP Computer Science Principal course.
Any other discussion? Okay, Christine.
Mr. Rude,
Yes.
Mrs. Smart,
Yes.
Mr. Charles-Nowski,
Yes.
Mrs. Cooper,
Yes.
Mr. Frisbee,
Yes.
Mr. Jones,
Yes.
Mrs. Minnick,
Yes.
and Mr. Owen.
Yes.
Okay, do I have a motion and a second to bring transportation to the agenda?
I'll move.
Second.
Okay, this is additions to the driver list and our bus upgrade request. Any discussion on this matter? Okay, Christine.
Mrs. Smart,
Yes.
Mr. Troснowski,
Yes.
Mrs. Cooper,
Yes.
Mr. Frisbee,
Yes.
Mr. Jones,
Yes.
Mrs. Minnick,
Yes.
Mr. Owen,
Yes.
and Mr. Rude.
Yes.
Okay, up next are building and grounds. Do I have a motion and a second to bring this to the table?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, this is a request to accept the recommended state contract bid for asbestos abatement for the lighting project, I believe at Row
And high school.
and the high school, Row and the high school. Any discussion on this? Anything you want to add, Mr. Schrader? Anything? You're good? Okay. All right, Christine?
Mr. Troснowski,
Yes.
Mrs. Cooper,
Yes.
Mr. Frisbee,
Yes.
Mr. Jones,
Yes.
Mrs. Minnick,
Yes.
Mr. Owen,
Yes.
Mr. Rude,
Yes.
and Mrs. Smart.
Yes.
Okay, under 14, we have nothing under other. This is again visitor comments now. Please give your name, address, organization which you represent, subject matter. It's requested that comments be kept to 3 minutes. Comments relative to private student or employee matters should be directed to the superintendent. When there's 1 minute left, I'll put my finger up for 1 minute left. Any visitor comments? Yes. Hello.
Hi. But you guys thought you were done with me. Sorry. Okay, JB Rauscher, 3578 Willawanna Road. I write this down so I don't get my feelings in here, you know? I come here tonight to speak to you about athletics. It's been brought to the attention of some of us parents, obviously with the co-ops that are happening little by little, we see this being a trend, that there's a potential for the Valley Sports, Athens area, and SARE to combine forces. If this means that the enrollment of both schools will need to be considered and in turn place us up into the 5A class, I highly discourage this merger at this time. We are already in a bigger class than any other school that any parent wants to drive to on a weeknight. I always try to assess things from a bird's eye view, and that's what I've done as a parent of 2 student athletes here at Athens. There's already a bit of a hurdle to climb to advance in team sports outside of our conference and district. I know this sounds crazy with a basketball team that just went to the second round of the state tournament, but you have to realize that some of those kids were exceptional athletes that put a lot of time in outside of school, and they had also spent many years building their rapport together as a team. Filling the position for a strength and conditioning coach is one of many steps that I would absolutely take. It needs to be taken in order to raise the bar for our students to compete confidently and safely with bigger schools in Northeast PA. I won't go much further because I really like all the people and all the coaches that I've dealt with in sports here. I don't want anyone to feel that I'm being personally critical because that's not at all what this is about. However, when you talk about any program as a whole, there's always room for improvement. So should any further forum for those ideas be able to be presented, I would be happy to be a part of that. But I just kind of wanted to say I would caution stepping us into a place right now we're not there. But tonight you guys just approved something that is a big step to improving our athletic performance. So thank you for that. And as far as Mrs. Buck, in relating to that, they did just approve this, but this is something they're going to assess. So if this program is successful, I definitely think that interested athletic teachers should be taken into consideration for the next thing. Oh, no, no, no. I'm just saying. Well, it's outside of the normal school hours and that's when the kids need it. So yeah, I, as a parent, because it's a separate thing, just like a coach's stipend, if there's teachers that are interested in it afterwards, they should definitely put their foot out there and, try to do it. But it's something that's needed for the kids. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other visitor comments?
Julie, Julie, oh no, that's something different.
It's something different? Okay.
Julie Smith, Main Street, Athens. No, this comment is just, I wanted to thank the school district for allowing the ski club this year to use the school to pick up and drop off the kids. Because I know we're not a school sanctioned club yet, but we had 54 row and high school students join the club this year. 3 ended up dropping out mid-season, but the rest of us went the whole way. Greek Peak is an excellent organization for us to work with. I think it's great that we still allow our 5th graders to go on that trip. And I had the privilege of subbing in for Mr. Watkins, a 5th grade teacher, the day after they went to Greek Peak. And every student raised their hand that they were going to join our ski club next year when they got to 6th grade. So we'll see how that goes, but I wanted to thank you for allowing us to do that because it was a great time to watch my kids excel. I think Jenna wants to be a downhill slalom skier now. So we'll see how that goes, but thank you.
Absolutely, thank you. Any other visitor comments? Okay. Number 16, we have board communications. We have the enrollment for the month of March. We have the enrollment by month. We have field trip request, kindergarten registration for the upcoming school year, and the updated school calendar, I believe, with the snow days that we've had. And then the Northern Tier Career Center February Administrative Board Report. I don't think there's any board discussion items at this time. Our next meeting will be Tuesday, April 12th. It'll be at the admin district office at 7 p.m. and as a work session. There is a need for an executive session after this. Contracts and personnel. Thank you. Still learning. And nothing else. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you.